This is the Zodiac speaking. That was how the letters always began. Typed, handwritten, or cut from newspapers. He sent them to the press, taunting the police, and threatening more bloodshed if his demands weren't met. He gave them clues. He gave them codes. And somehow, he stayed one step ahead. In the late 1960s, a serial killer stalked the streets of Northern California, targeting couples in parked cars, attacking in broad daylight, and leaving behind a trail of cryptic letters, puzzles, and terror. He called himself Zodiac, and he wanted the world to know his name. Despite decades of investigation, hundreds of suspects, and even modern forensic breakthroughs, his identity remains a mystery. Welcome back to Prison Stories. In this episode, we dive into the twisted timeline of the Zodiac Killer, a man who struck fear across California, toyed with law enforcement, and disappeared into legend. From chilling letters to unsolved ciphers and a trail of victims left behind, this is the full story, as haunting now as it was then. The Zodiac's confirmed trail of terror began on December 20th, 1968. It was a cold Friday night, and Lake Herman Road, just outside Vallejo, California, was quiet. A stretch of road often used by teenagers looking for privacy. That night, 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen parked their car there, hoping for a peaceful evening alone. But what happened next would change everything. Sometime around 11 p.m., someone approached their car. There was no warning. No struggle, no words exchanged, just violence. David was shot once in the head, execution style. Betty Lou was shot 5 times in the back as she tried to run. She died on the spot. There were no witnesses, no fingerprints, no clues, just 2 bodies. A crime scene soaked in fear and a silence that left investigators with more questions than answers. At the time, police treated it as an isolated double murder. But 6 months later, the killer would strike again, this time, leaving behind something far more terrifying than bullets. He left a message. On the night of July 4th, 1969, while fireworks lit up the sky across America, the Zodiac was preparing his next move. Just before midnight, 22-year-old Darlene Farron and 19-year-old Michael Mageau were parked at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, only a few miles from the first crime scene. They sat in Darlene's car, unaware they were being watched. A car pulled up beside them, then drove off. Minutes later, it returned. This time, the driver stepped out and approached with a flashlight and a 9mm pistol. Without a word, he opened fire. Michael was shot in the face, neck, and chest, but he survived. Darlene wasn't as lucky. She was hit multiple times and died shortly after. At 12:40 a.m., just 40 minutes after shooting, a chilling call came into the Vallejo Police Department. The voice on the other end was calm, almost casual. "I want to report a murder. If you'll go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They've been shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." It was the first time the killer spoke for himself, and it was clear he wanted credit. The Zodiac was no longer just a murderer. He was building a persona, and he had only just begun. On August 1st, 1969, less than a month after the Blue Rock Springs attack, 3 nearly identical letters arrived at the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. Each envelope contained a handwritten letter claiming responsibility for both the Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs murders. But more disturbingly, each included a piece of a complex cipher, a coded message he demanded be printed in the newspapers or he'd kill again. "I like killing people because it is so much fun." That's what part of the cipher read, when eventually decoded. The killer signed the letters with a simple crosshair-like symbol, a circle with a cross through it. No name, no fingerprints, no real leads. But 3 days later, on August 4th, he sent another letter to the San Francisco Examiner, this time more direct. Dear editor, this is a Zodiac speaking. It was the first time he gave himself a name. The media ran with it. The public was gripped with fear and fascination, and the Zodiac fed on both. By now, it was obvious this wasn't just a killer. He was playing a game, one where the prize was attention, control, and chaos. On September 27, 1969, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, two college students, were enjoying a peaceful afternoon by Lake Berryessa, about an hour north of Napa. It was warm, calm, the kind of day you'd never associate with horror. But lurking behind a tree was a man dressed in a bizarre outfit, a black executioner-style hood, with the Zodiac's crosshair symbol stitched onto the chest. He held a gun, and in a chilling, rehearsed voice, claimed he was an escaped convict who needed their car and money to flee to Mexico. Then, things took a darker turn. After tying the couple up with pre-cut lengths of rope, the man pulled out a foot-long knife and began stabbing them, 10 times in total. Before leaving, he did something even more disturbing. He took a black marker and drew his symbol on the door of Brian's car. Below it, he wrote the dates of his previous attacks and added this one, along with the words, September 27th, 69, 6:30 by knife. Then he made another call to police, calmly reporting the crime. Cecilia died 2 days later. Brian survived barely. The attack was brutal, personal, and theatrical. And unlike before, the Zodiac had shown himself in costume. He wasn't just building a legend anymore, he was living it. October 11th, 1969. San Francisco. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, picked up a passenger in the bustling city. His fare was headed to the upscale neighborhood of Presidio Heights. But what should have been a routine ride turned into Zodiac's most brazen killing yet. When they reached the destination, the passenger shot Stein in the head at point-blank range. But this time, the killer didn't flee quietly into the night. He lingered. He wiped down the cab, took Paul's wallet keys, and grotesquely tore off a piece of the blood-stained shirt as a trophy. Then, right as police cars were being dispatched, he walked away, blending into the neighborhood like nothing had happened. Due to dispatcher error, the police were mistakenly told to look for a black suspect. 2 officers even passed a white man walking calmly away from the scene, likely the Zodiac himself. Days later, the Zodiac sent another letter to the Chronicle. This time, he included the piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt, proof that he was a killer. He also mocked the police for failing to catch him, writing, "School children make nice targets." He claimed he would shoot out the tires of a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. Whether or not he ever intended to follow through, the fear was real. San Francisco was now not just afraid. It was on edge. The Zodiac wasn't just attacking couples at night. He had brought the horror into the heart of a city. After the murder of Paul Stein, the Zodiac Killer shifted from brutal physical attacks to psychological warfare. His letters became longer, stranger, and more cryptic. He wasn't just trying to scare. He wanted to dominate. Between 1969 and 1971, dozens of letters were sent to newspapers and police. Some contained threats. Others included bizarre puzzles and symbols, ciphers that he claimed held his identity. The most infamous was a 408-character cipher sent in 3 parts to the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald. It was cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife, revealing a chilling message. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest. Man is the most dangerous animal of all." But he never included his name, and the signature became as famous as the crimes. a circle with a cross through it, like a sniper's target. Later, the Zodiac sent a 340-character cipher, a puzzle that remained unsolved for over 50 years. It wasn't until 2020 that a team of amateur codebreakers finally cracked it. It read in part, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber. Still no name, no face. Just more riddles, more fear, more arrogance." The Zodiac's ability to manipulate the media and police made him a legend. He wanted attention, and he got it. He even began to number his victims, claiming credit for 37 murders, though only 5 have been officially confirmed. The killer was no longer just a criminal. He was turning into a myth. Despite the killer's brazen attacks and open letters to the press, police were always one step behind. The Zodiac taunted law enforcement, but never slipped up enough to get caught. In San Francisco, detectives worked around the clock on Presidio Heights murder, but their first mistake came immediately. Responding officers were told to look for a black male suspect based on a miscommunication from a witness. As a result, an officer may have unknowingly let the Zodiac walk right past him. The case generated over 2,500 suspects, but one man stood out above the rest: Arthur Lee Allen. He was a convicted child molester, lived near several crime scenes, and owned a watch branded Zodiac that had the same crosshair symbol found in the killer's letters. Police even served a search warrant on Allen's home, finding disturbing material and weapons. But nothing directly linked him to crimes. His fingerprints, handwriting, and DNA didn't match. Other suspects came and went, including conspiracy theories involving multiple killers, government operatives, or ties to cults. None led anywhere solid. And the Zodiac? He kept writing. Letters trickled in through the early 1970s, each more cryptic or bizarre than the last. Some included more ciphers. Others threatened school children or bombings. But no new confirmed murders could be tied to him after 1969. Despite national attention, the case went cold. Investigators had clues, handwriting samples, and partial fingerprints, but no face to match them to. Even decades later, the Zodiac Killer continues to cast a long, chilling shadow over American true crime. With each anniversary of the murders, new attention surfaces, and occasionally new clues. The case officially remains unsolved. Zodiac's legacy is as much about what he did as it is about how he manipulated the media and law enforcement. He turned murder into a puzzle, making the world watch, guess, and shudder. In our upcoming episode, we'll be diving deep into the possible suspects, from Arthur Lee Allen to Gary Post, breaking down the theories, evidence, and the reasons why no one has ever been officially charged. Thank you for watching Prison Stories. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let us know in the comments, who do you think the Zodiac Killer was?